All right, everyone. Hope you had a nice break. Thanks for hanging in with us. And thank you so much again to Maria and to Lamar. Those were amazing presentations, just like so much information. Again, all of this is being recorded. So, you can come back and listen to this or share this with others. So much to dig into. Okay, moving on for the second half of our symposium. So our third presenter today is Ana María Jiménez. Ana is a plastic artist, a jeweler, and an architect. She founded Talleres in Borde, a creative laboratory for moving between space, the object, and the body. Educated in fine arts and architecture, she studied jewelry in the UK, Spain, and Colombia. She researches pre-Hispanic jewelry techniques, combining artisanal practices and historical studies to create sustainable jewelry and sculpture. Ana approaches creation from a transdisciplinary perspective, merging practices from art, jewelry, and architecture. Recently, she's been tracing the Amerindian goldsmithing techniques of the Northern Andes and recreating them in her workshop to understand them by practical application, using traditional methods like stone tools and clay molds. We're also super lucky today to have Ana Maria in the studio with us. So she'll be presenting from the BJC, and she's going to be part of our in-person symposium tomorrow. So if you are planning to come, or if you aren't planning to come and want another reason, you'll get to see some of her work in action in person. All right, without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Ana Maria.
Hello, I am Ana María Jiménez. I am from Medellin, Colombia, and I'm very happy to be here in person. So yes, I am in Baltimore. I'm going to share my presentation. Okay, so in my creative workshop, Talleres en Borde, I move fluidly between space, object, and the body, with no boundaries between visual art, architecture, or jewelry. In 2018, I started a research project called Volver al Proceso, which means back to the process. My goal is to understand how goldsmithing was practiced in what is now Colombia before the arrival of the Spaniards. I have explored and recreated these techniques in my workshop. The primary methods include hammering with a stone, using clay molds for lost wax, and melting metal without a torch. So my main questions are, how were gold pieces crafted without the tools we have today? I have several videos that will explain more the process and the research. This is the first one. Mi nombre es Ana María Jiménez y esto es Talleres en Borde. En el 2018 yo había recién terminado mi maestría en artes plásticas y me encontré con un recuerdo. Y ese recuerdo yo solo supe de dónde era cuando años después, ya grande, fui al Museo del Oro de Bogotá. Me acordé de esa sensación que yo he tenido por muchos años por las piezas prehispánicas. Entonces ahí empezó este proyecto que se llama Volver al Proceso, las técnicas prehispánicas orfebres. En un primer momento me imaginaba que iba a encontrar talleres en Colombia donde todavía se hicieran técnicas prehispánicas. Muy pronto me di cuenta que es un conocimiento que ya no está vivo, ya no está en acción en los talleres, sino que es un conocimiento que está guardado. Y este proceso se ha tratado de ir a buscar esa información. Hay alguna que está en los museos, en los libros, en las experiencias curiosas de otros joyeros que también se han interesado por estos temas. Y lo que he hecho ha sido una recolección curiosa, cuidadosa y perceptiva de esa información que está un poco en todas partes y sobre todo una información que está adentro de mí, que cuando estoy en momentos de mucha percepción tengo acceso a ella y me lleva precisamente a los lugares que estoy buscando. Okay. So, I want to give you some context and share the images that sparked my curiosity. This map shows the current territory of Colombia, and each figure represents an indigenous community that work with gold. I am excited to share this with you so we can explore these questions together. Imagine creating these objects without the tools without the tools we have today. No torches, no iron hammers, no rolling mills. What processes did they use? Asking myself these questions again and again and trying to answer them as faithfully as possible is what led me to develop this research. I really wanted to watch these images, like remember them, as Maria was telling us, and then you will understand all the process after this. What processes did they use? Since there are no living goldsmithings from that time to explain the techniques, I gather information from books, museums, historians, anthropologists, and fellow jewelers, and then put it all together like a puzzle. I want to read this for you. This is a text that I found in a very nice exhibition in the Gold Museum in Bogota. And it was the start of this research. I did a translation, it was in Spanish. So, offering to the gods. In indigenous thoughts, natural and supernatural principles are there are man and woman. Following the shade comes the light. After the rain comes the drought. The wild is themed, there's a lot of words that I don't know how to pronounce, sorry, by the domesticated, and the world above is connected to the one below. When the balance is disrupted, chaos ensues. Unconfrontable forces take hold of the universe, treating disorder and terror. Then the wise men intervene to restore order to the world. Through sacred offering, they restored balance and ensure that life continues its course. So I began working my own tools guided by images from museums, as well as with the help of Ricardo Rojas, a stone carver from San Agustin. And these are the four main questions that I've done. And I have different books and tools and final pieces to try to answer these questions, which are hammering with a stone, clay molds for lux wax, and casting without a torch. And also, after all of these questions, I have my own jewelry pieces that I'm going to show a little bit. And now we're going to see the chapter of hammering with a stone. Hammering with a stone has changed my relationship with the craft. It is a technique that forces me to work slowly and with full presence. It has helped me form a different bond with each piece. I have to work with my entire body, making it an immersive experience. I have here the second video. Esta es una forma que es una forma de la colonia. Esta forma no es una forma auténtica del mundo orfebre prehispánico. Uno observa las piezas de aquí, las piezas que uno puede acceder a ellas en el Museo del Oro, casi todas parten de figuras redondas. Entonces ahí empezamos como en la tarea de hacer este tipo de piezas, cómo llegar ya no hacer una lámina como esta, sino cómo hacer un disco redondo. Este es un tejuelo que primero fue fundido en agua buscando una forma completamente redonda que al martillar por muchas horas va a quedar como un disco prehispánico redondo. Creo que trabajar con técnicas lentas que requieren mucho tiempo y mucha presencia, puedo hacerlos de una forma meditativa, muy silenciosa. Es como la misma forma de hacer esto me exige estar acá. Particularmente los sonidos del taller a mí me llevan a un lugar de concentración muy profunda. Y es como una conciencia que aquí lo que tiene que pasar es tiempo. Entonces es muy lindo porque yo esto no lo puedo acelerar. Yo no le puedo decir a esta pieza, tienes que ir más rápido. Ella lo que necesita es tiempo y golpes. Entonces es como que yo me entrego a eso. Yo soy ese medio para que sucedan esas dos cosas. La misma forma de hacer esto me exige estar acá, porque si yo no estoy plenamente presente, me duelen las manos, se me cae la piedra, puede sufrir el cuerpo. Y como soy cada vez más consciente de eso, pues cada vez lo alimento más. Como de estar de una manera muy presente.
So this was a very simple question at the beginning, how to make a round disc. And as you saw in the video, I started like in a very contemporary way of thinking with an ingot and how we start today. And then I realized after watching all the images from the museums and the books that they started with a round pieces. And I found that very interesting and it's a way of showing that that's the way I am doing. I am starting from like zero from the beginning and not in an European way of thinking. I'm trying to think like watching and like paying attention to the place where I live, where I come from. And that's very simple, but very deep in this research, like how to start with just a round disc and just like that, asking that question. I've been working on that for more than 6 years. And the most important thing that I've learned from the indigenous community is to work with thought and intention. What does that mean? In my experience, it's about being aware that each one of my thoughts stays embedded in each piece I create. The second chapter that we are going to see is moldes de barro, which means clay molds for lux wax.
A mí en volver al proceso pues me ha interesado como acercarme a cada etapa del proceso lo más fiel posible. Pues en este caso, para hacer la cera perdida vamos a utilizar cera de abejas, moldes de barro mezclados con carbón y luego metal. Aquí estoy calentando la cera, que me ayuda el fuego, pero también puedo hacerlo solo con el contacto con las manos. Quiero hacer un anillo como este, ya lo tengo listo. Y para eso entonces voy a hacer la forma del anillo. Entonces acá estamos pulverizando el carbón. Y lo que le hace el carbón al barro es que le genera poros, y esos poros le permiten al aire del interior salir al exterior. Entonces por este carbón, por esta mezcla de carbón y barro, no explota el molde de barro cuando lo ponemos en el fuego. Ahora vamos a mezclar el barro con el carbón. Para estas piezas he estado haciendo un juego de cubrir el molde con la cera y con una piedra al interior que me permite la temperatura del metal. O sea, que me permite vertir el metal y la piedra resiste la temperatura de ese metal fundido. Entonces aquí hay dos piezas que son piedras, y lo que intento hacer es que el metal abrace la piedra para que se queden unidas. Sí, creo que desde muy chiquita estoy como rodeada de manos que hacen. Creo que mis manos siempre han sido como mi canal.
So as you can see, it's a very similar process of what we used to do today with the lost wax, but the difference is the time that you spend with the clay and the way you have to wait and take care of that mold, and then fire it into the chimney, and then have the surprise of cracking the mold and see what's inside. I have sought out the materials that would have been used back then. Beeswax, clay I collect myself, and charcoal. With just these three materials, I've been able to recreate the original pre-Hispanic technique. My favorite part is the surprise that comes when breaking the mold. After taking care of it for days, you never know exactly what will emerge. These are some examples of the pieces that I've done with this technique. And now, this is the chapter of fire, and is the most exciting and at the same time the most mysterious. I've been delved deep into the earth to unearth the secrets of fire. These are the kind of questions that I do, like, what is the guaira terminology like? How to ground casting, how to make the molds and crucibles. And I also have a video here.
El momento de fundir para mí es un proceso alquímico, en donde esa transmutación de la materia para mí es como lo más visible del cambio que puede haber, pues, tanto en la materia como en uno. Ser testigo de esa transformación, de pasar de algo completamente duro y sólido a algo líquido, maleable, que es un estado completamente distinto, siento que en ese instante es donde el metal se puede impregnar de eso que uno le quiere entregar. Entonces, para mí los procesos de fundición generalmente están cargados como de un proceso muy íntimo, de mucho silencio, en donde yo traigo al pensamiento, ya sea la persona a la que le estoy haciendo la pieza o la intención que quiero dejar como impregnada en esta pieza. Nosotros como joyeros, pues casi todos utilizamos el soplete,
y con el soplete nosotros vertimos el metal en un crisol, un molde, lo que sea que vayamos a fundir. Y esa acción de vertir es algo que tenemos como muy insertado. Con todas estas exploraciones, estos procesos, yo me he preguntado si varias de estas etapas de ellos de fundición no incluyen el vertir, sino que exploran a través de diferentes formas en moldes de barro la fundición en estas mismas superficies. Entonces, para hacer varias de estas piezas, lo que he hecho es explorar esas maneras, hacer unos crisoles con diferentes formas que me permiten dejar la pieza que se enfríe, dejar que la pieza se enfríe en ese molde y cuando ya esté fría retirarlo y empezarlo a martillar.
Había una pregunta que todavía no tenía resuelta y era el fuego. ¿Cómo fundir sin soplete? La documentación escrita nos cuenta que esto se hacía con una guaira, que es una hornilla. Uno va al museo y lee los textos, dice como se utilizaba esta hornilla en la parte alta de una montaña y se utilizaba el viento para avivar el fuego. Ya. Hasta que un día un amigo que se llama Andrés Vélez, él es historiador y filósofo, y un día él me dijo, oye, tú sabes que eso que tú estás haciendo se llaman técnicas reconstructivas y es una herramienta que utiliza la historia como para volver a entender la historia desde la materia.
De la mano de María Cano, una ceramista de Bogotá, reconstruimos una guaira basándonos en una hornilla del Museo de la Universidad de Antioquia de Medellín.
Y esta es una réplica exacta de esa. Y la segunda misión era hacer una fundición en tierra. Y hubo un momento que para mí fue clave y es que estaba en una residencia artística en Villa de Leyva, que fueron 21 días, en donde había mucho conocimiento del fuego desde otros lugares, como desde la cocina, desde la selva. Entonces ahí empecé a entender que para mí estas quemas son toda una ceremonia, son un momento para hacer un ritual, para agradecer, para estar atenta, para no forzar, sino dejar ser cada quema y dejar que pase lo que tenga que pasar. Y ha sido muy emocionante. En total llevamos 7 quemas y de esas 7 quemas 3 veces ya hemos logrado fundir sin soplete. Entonces creamos un grupo muy hermoso de amigos que se querían sumar como a esta gran pregunta. Aprendimos que el fuego tiene que llegar vivo, el fuego tiene que llegar ya prendido a la guaira y ahí ya seguirlo alimentando. Y ahí hicimos 2 quemas, 2 fundiciones, una fundición en molde cerrado y la otra fundición en molde abierto.
De todas las quemas hay una particularmente emocionante y fue el día que logramos fundir tumbaga en nuestra hornilla prehispánica. La tumbaga es una aleación de cobre más oro. Ese día, junto a la ayuda del grupo de investigación Active Matter, soplamos durante 3 horas. Nos hicimos uno con el fuego. I feel very happy after I see this video again because it was really one of my best days ever. The day that we really could melt without a torch and just for blowing. It was really, really great. I will continue. So how can you melt metal without a torch? I believe there is knowledge hiding in the fire that we have not understood for many years. And now, for some reason, it's resurfacing. An indigenous mamo, or spiritual leader, once told me that we, as younger brothers, as they call us, didn't understand the true purpose of gold objects. They were meant to remain in the earth as offering, but now they are trapped in museums and people's homes. When did goldsmithing pieces stop being a means of making offerings? To approach to the knowledge of fire, I realize I must do so with respect. The fire reveals its secrets when approached with intention and treats as a ritual. It is a collaborative effort where we give our vitality to the fire and receive it back. We become one with the fire. And this is another chapter that I think I won't have enough time to show you the video, but I can show you some images. And I really wanted to have in the research like these organic materials. As you can see in the videos, there was like a part that it was always part of the metal. And this is my most recent work. And the last one, so maybe you can read some of these like conclusions of the research that I've been thinking. And the last part of my work that I want to show you is the sculpture chapter. It is called In Search of Balance in Imbalance, where I explore the equilibrium between opposites, trying to find the balance that we seem to have lost. I think that's all. Thank you very much for the invitation and for listening.
Thank you so much, Ana Maria. That was really wonderful. I just especially love your images and how just like beautifully curated it all is. We have a couple of questions. I'm not sure, Sarah, if you would like to come off of the chat and ask yours. I'll give you a moment.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I was wondering how you determined what stones were used both for the platform that you hammered on and the portion that you held in your hand as the striking force, and if you were able to source those from the same locations as they would have been sourced originally.
So I think if I go back and try to see like every step that I have done in this research, I could say like everything was like meant to be. Like if I don't really found like they found to me. And the stone process was like that. A friend of mine, he told me like you should meet this person. And in Colombia, there is a place that is very important for us, which is called San Agustin. It's in the south of Colombia, and the sculptures in stone were like unbelievable. And they have a very special stones because they used to be volcano stones and then they come like river stone. So you can really find them in the river. And I worked with this person and he started to make my own tools because that was very important in the process when I realized that a normal hammer wouldn't give me the answers that I was looking for. So he did the hammers to me. And then I realized these stones were super beautiful and I needed to work with them as well as part of my jewelry. So part of the stones he worked with the stones and he sent it to me, and some of them I collected myself. Don't know much about stones, but I can recognize now like maybe from the color if they can receive the metal, the melted metal, or if not. And so I think it's more like I am very open to see what do I need, like not from here, just more from here, like something catch my attention very, very strongly. And that's what I pay attention to. Did I answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah,
Margot
thank
Chico
you.
also had that same question, so that was great. Elliot, do you want to ask your question? Okay, I'll ask it for him. Elliot asked, have you learned anything about pre-colonial mining and refining techniques? How much do we know about how they processed ore into workable metal?
Can you repeat that question, please? Or where can I read it?
If you scroll up in the chat, you can probably see it. But have you learned anything about pre-colonial mining and refining techniques? How much do we know about how they processed ore into workable metal?
Yes, that could be like a whole presentation, and we can speak a lot about that. And I think the most important question is, how do they relate it with the gold? Different than what we do today. When the Spaniards came to America, everything changed because the gold started to be a transactional material. So it was important of how it cost, but for the indigenous people in Latin America, that was not the important thing about gold. The important thing about the metal was the mystical and the power of the gold. So it was very different to what we know today and what we do today. And for example, in my workshop, I don't buy gold. I only work with recycled gold because I don't want to be part of that chain. And a lot of the gold that we use is from Colombia. We still have a lot of gold. And I am very conscious about that because a lot of the war that we have in our countries is because of that and a lot of things more, but the gold is a very important part of that. And I think I am very surprised most of the time with my clients and my workshop, they don't make these questions that we are so disconnected of the origin of the materials and where do they come from. And I really think I have this purpose that we connect again of the origin of the materials and where do they come from. And I had the possibility to go and really find the gold as the way they did it in the rivers with a long time, with no process that contaminate the river. And it's such a different experience when you really know where the materials come from. And for them, the gold was more like they have a very different relation for the material. So for them, the gold was like the world from the heaven, from the up, and the copper was from the under earth. And when they use the aloe that is called tumbaga, which is gold and copper together, they mean to put together these two worlds. And in that middle is where we live as humans. So for them, there was a lot of meanings that we don't have anymore. And I think they are like so powerful. And I really want to connect with that again. And I didn't talk about that because, of course, I do have a lot of things that we could talk more, but the tumbaga, they could make these like gold pieces only with the 5% of gold, and the other part was copper. But they were really good in making these giggling by oxidation is the name, and they put on surface the gold. So they could use a very, very small amount of gold for these pieces. I hope I answered your question.
All right, I'm going to ask one more question, then a comment, and then be moving on. Margot asked, can you tell us more about the findings on your pieces? The cord connections are so beautiful, and I'm very interested in the contemporary jewelry style brooch back on your hammer discs.
Sorry, I need to read that question again. So are you asking me where can you find my work?
No,
Is that
no.
the question?
If you could tell
Ah.
us a little more about the findings on your pieces, especially like the chord connections, and was really interested in the brooch back style that you used on the discs.
There's a word that I don't understand, so I really want to see
Connections?
findings.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we
I
maybe
like the endings.
your earring hook would be
Okay.
or like the cord or the back of this
Okay.
brooch. Yeah. I
Okay.
like that moment of
Thank you.
miss
Yes.
or translation.
Well, after I finished some of these pieces that I really love, like the disc, I really tempted to do nothing to it, just keep the round disc. Even for one, I just keep the round disc and I put it in the wall and just like that. But also because I'm really interested to bring to this contemporary jewelry the old techniques. And my background is not in like proper jewelry. I've done a lot of courses, but not a whole course. So sometimes I really dedicate and make this system for the brooch like very good, but without touching a lot, like the original object. And so I really like to show like the process as it is, and try to find different materials. I didn't told that neither in the presentation, but for example, for me working with brass or with silk or with stones, it's all again, because for me it's more important the materials that I work of how important the material is and not how much it costs. That's not important for me.
I love that. Like just letting the materials speak, but there's just a really nice fluency between the choices that you're making in the materials for the findings and the connections in the materials themselves. And I think that even shows up in your photography too, just like a lovely aesthetics. Maria said impressive and just loves the consistency in your work. Your work is thoughtful and lovely, someone said. And then Mercury said, just what a touching talk. It must feel really special to reconnect with these techniques and uncover lost knowledge. Thank you for doing this significant work and keeping history alive. And then Ruling says, jewelry making as a ritual. How wonderful. I really appreciate your deeper connection to everything in the making process. Reminding me how the connections are always here, always alive, and we're enlivening it with every step of the journey. I was thinking something kind of similar to connected to Margot's question that she asked Maria earlier, of just Margot was curious if Maria had applied her archiving process to other things in her life. And I just, this isn't really a question, more of a comment of just the way that like the actions that you take in your making probably mimic the way that you approach other aspects of your life. And you had one thing in your list of conclusions just about like thinking about how you're using the body and your making and what you're putting of your body into the making. And I think that really kind of deep reflective practice is not something that we see as much because we live in such a culture of kind of speed and quantity. So it's just a really refreshing thing to hear about. And Mary Cassell said the same thing, how you're putting the body into the making as well as the wearing. So awesome. Bravo.